She wakes with a scream, a blow-out-your-lungs kind of scream, and she's drenched in freezing water. She's soaked, her bed's soaked. It's dark, but not so dark she can't see Anvil standing there with an empty bucket and Weasel with another. Bong, Legs, and Magnet are there too, shouting, "Straight sicky, straight sicky." Weasel throws the second bucket of water. Unbelievably cold, she inhales a wild animal cry. They pull her out of the bed, push her down the hallway to the bathrooms with slaps and kicks, throw her into a bath of cold water. They throw everything she owns into the bath with her, even pointlessly toss in the already soaked bedsheets. Even her photographs, pictures of happier times before Malwood and Horizon, which are ruined. After they leave, she carries her dripping possessions down to the laundry room in the basement, starts to dry them off. She's so shocked and cold that she can't even cry, not even at her ruined pictures. It had been simply cruel. She can't believe it, that anyone would do that. She's overwhelmed by anger at Weasel and Anvil, until that's overtaken by simply wanting to be anywhere but there. Sometime during the night, Dingo shows up in the laundry room, and before she can say anything, Columbia punches her in the face, clumsily but hard. She doesn't want to hear what Dingo has to say, but her anger is directed at Weasel and Anvil. Dingo makes this little surprise noise, her legs totally give way, and she falls down straight onto the floor. Columbia turns away and pretends to be drying things, as Dingo just sits there on the floor and holds her face and cries. She gives Dingo a few minutes to shut up, hoping she'll just creep away, but she just sits there crying. "Get lost, Dingo," she finally tells her. "My name's Jane." Cough through new tears. "Then get lost, Jane." There's more crying, but Jane doesn't leave. Eventually it subsides. "I only wanted to help you, Columbia, help you dry things. They've done it to me before. Nobody helped me." Finally, Jane leaves the laundry room. Soft footfalls into what's left of that ghastly night. Before dawn, as the dryers still whine, she's made her decision. She makes sure the money she has is dry, puts enough clothes for a few days into a black plastic bag. She walks across the fields to the train station, leaving Horizon forever. Malwood is north from there, so she takes a train south to one of the cities by the sea, one of the gambling centers that ring the coastline, offering anonymity and bright lights, and she doesn't care which one. After she's bought the train ticket, all she has is 28 and change, enough for a few meals, nowhere near enough for somewhere to stay. She'll need work, a place to sleep, but she has all day to figure that out. She sleeps the 2 hours on the train, and then she walks around the city, beautiful buildings of glass and steel and marble, wide streets of shops. It's noisy, crowded, waves of people going one way or another. She knows she looks out of place, a 15-year-old with a plastic bag of clothes and nowhere to go. So she stays close to the train station, eats some fast food. She wonders what's happening back at school, what they're doing to find her, whether they've even told Uncle Simon yet, and whether he'd care all that much. But she's determined she's not going back to Malwood. She's going to stick it out there, in the city. She figures she'll spend the first night staying awake in the 24-hour fast food joint by the train station. There are lots of other children there, like her, killing time, buying the occasional piece of food, some fries or a pie, hanging around outside. They look younger than her, dirty. She notices she's starting to look dirty too, a smudge here and there on her clothes. It doesn't take long to get dirty living like that. Late in the afternoon, she notices a group of protesters marching down the East Road towards the train station, then turning away north towards a small park in a square. She follows. She's never seen a protest march except on the television. But it's a pitifully small group, only around 30 people, maybe even fewer, kept by the police to one side of the road so that cars can get past. Each protester is carrying a candle, seemingly pointless in the light of the afternoon, and with the sea breeze the flames frequently go out and have to be relit. They're dressed in black and red, all of them, but in different ways. Some have red tops, others black. Some have black pants, some red. Some are all in black with just red shoes or a red scarf or a red belt. They're chanting, "The arch for mankind, the arch for mankind." It makes little sense to her. Then she sees the signs they're holding. Raise the floor, not the ceiling. Equality in progress. With nothing else to do, she trails behind them towards the park. She studies their faces, a diverse collection of ages, colours, both men and women, the thin-faced, the heavy-set, the delicate, the gloomy, the angry, the stoical. At the front is an old man with a grey beard, who looks like some wizard. He's supported on one side by a tiny woman with a hostile expression beneath pink-dyed hair, who's young enough to be his granddaughter. On his other side, he's supported by a man in a black suit. It looks expensive, with a red tie over a black shirt. He's her father's age, and his face is fleshy and well-fed. He smiles, waves at people as they pass, although they all turn away from him as if he were covered in dirt or somehow unnaturally deformed. At the park, the protesters gather at the base of a statue, the statue of some soldier, maybe Alexander or Haig or Churchill. She doesn't know. She doesn't know anything about famous soldiers. And the man in the expensive suit and the pink-haired woman help the old wizard up onto the pedestal. The old wizard opens his arms in a universal embrace, and in a surprisingly strong voice calls out, "The Arch." There's cheering from the small crowd. He points to himself, almost humbly, but that strong voice again. "Philosophia." He holds out his arms to the man in the expensive suit. "Moderata." Clapping, not cheering, the man waves again. He turns to the woman with the pink hair, his voice quieter now. "Immoderata." Not cheering, but a deep approving sound, a quiet roar. She holds up a fist, proudly, and the roar grows. The old man speaks to the crowd. "The Arch. All three are of the Arch. Philosophia, Moderata, Immoderata. The Arch is for you. The Arch is for everyone. For a better world. Let the world know, let them know they all have their part in the Arch." There is cheering again, and then a new chant. "Treun, Treun, Treun." She figures that's his name. She loses herself in studying the many faces. A trickle of people who want to change the entire world. Idealists. Her father would have called them naive, absurdist. Then the man in the expensive suit starts a speech. He's dull. "It is by pressure on the political system we can achieve." She's uninterested in this speech. She ignores it and considers a completely new theory, the theory of uselessness. 1. You try to change what can't be changed. 2. Nobody cares. 3. You don't even recognize it can't be changed or that nobody cares. She's just about ready to walk away when the man finishes his speech. The old wizard, Treun, thanks him, calls him brother, calls him accord. Treun motions for the woman with the short pink hair to step forward, calls her sister, calls her Krieg. If that's a name, she thinks, it's an ugly one, but it probably isn't her real name. She's a protester after all. Krieg's unsmiling, fixed, angry. She lets the crowd quiet completely. And if Moderata fails, there is Immoderata. She says it with power, conviction. That's all she says, just those few words, and she steps back. There's that deep, approving roar again. That seems to mark the end of the protest. The candles are extinguished, together as if one, and the three on the pedestal climb down. The protesters drift away in separate directions. She goes back to the 24-hour fast food joint. After midnight, they're thrown out by a manager who uses obscene words to chase them away and flicks repellent water from a mop at them. More filth. She doesn't follow the other children. She goes back to the train station by herself, only to find it closed. Later, behind the train station, she finds the other children again, on a quiet street among heaps of rubbish put out front by the shops and restaurants. They're sleeping in doorways or shouting or arguing. She isn't fitting in, so she walks the streets nearby, tired as she is. She's been walking for hours, it seems like all day and all night. A man stops her, asks her something that doesn't make sense, touches her hair, then when she says no, he spits at her. Even more filth. He walks away swearing. She goes back to the street with the children in the rubbish in the doorways. She figures it's safer there with others around. A young boy offers her something to drink from a bottle, and she takes it. It makes her gasp, but it's warming and it feels good just to have someone give her anything. He says he's been there on the street for 2 months, but then he demands her money, all of it, saying it's the price for the drink, punches her in the stomach when she protests, and takes it out of her coat pocket. She cries over the lost money. The night's only half over, so she walks again, down to the beach, the freezing, shadowy sea, and then back to the center of the city again. She isn't able to think straight anymore. She wonders whether she can climb a tree and sleep in it, but she knows she can't. She just keeps walking, slower and slower. By morning, she's chilled and damp. When the train station reopens, she creeps in and sleeps in a corner, only a few hours, until someone roughly tells her to move. She has no money to go back to the fast food restaurant, and is scared that she'll see the boy who punched her there, spending her money. She hasn't the strength to walk much more, so she squeezes through a barrier and boards the first train she sees. She hides in the toilet, falls asleep sitting on it. A banging on the door wakes her up. She has no idea how long she's been in there, and she won't open it. A man is shouting he's going to call the police if she doesn't open the door. She finally does, and he shouts at her, calls her a dirty little beggar, calls the police anyway. On the train platform of some small town near a beautiful city by the sea, she doesn't know where, the police arrest her.